What is the Philippine Development Plan 2011 to 2016? The Philippine Development Plan 2011 to 2016 adopts a framework of inclusive growth, which is high growth that is sustained, generates mass employment, and reduces poverty. With good governance and anti-corruption as the overarching theme of each and every intervention, the plan translates into specific goals, objectives, strategies, programs, and projects. Chapter 1, In Pursuit of Inclusive Growth, presents an overview of the plan, detailing the policy directions that would ensure the country will not fall into the path of a trickle-down jobless growth, which we have seen in the past years. Chapter 2 outlines the initiatives that will ensure the stability and growth of a macroeconomic environment. Chapter 3 outlines the imperatives for a globally competitive and innovative industry and services sectors that will provide opportunity for every Filipino to pursue gainful employment. In the same manner, Chapter 4 pushes for a competitive, sustainable, and technology-based agriculture and fishery sector. Chapter 5 aims to accelerate the provision of physical infrastructure to support the economic sectors and ensure equitable access to infrastructure services, especially health, education, and housing. Chapter 6, A healthy, dynamic, and financial system is envisioned that will gainfully contribute to sustainable and equitable growth. Chapter 7 summarizes a strategy for greater transparency, good governance, accountability, and the pursuit of the rule of law as a precondition for national development. Chapter 8 translates inclusive growth by ensuring improvement in the lives of all Filipinos through equitable access to adequate and quality social services and assets. To ensure that every Filipino participates and benefits from socio-economic gains, Chapter 9 advances the peace process and guarantees national security to break the vicious cycle of conflict and underdevelopment in affected areas. Chapter 10 envisions an environment that is healthy, ecologically balanced, sustainably productive, climate change resilient, and providing for the needs of the present and future generations. However, we will only be focusing on Chapter 7, which is about good governance and the rule of law. We asked one of our professors, Dr. Benjamin Muego, for an interview regarding his thoughts and opinion on PDP 2011 to 2016.
Well, if you go by the numbers, such as the actual growth rate of the Philippine economy in various sectors, the industrial sector, the agricultural sector, and all the other sectors involved, the answer would be yes, because the numbers are quite impressive actually, and there were other indications of that as well, uh, like the upgrading of the credit rating of the Philippines by Moody's, and during the time of Macapagal Arroyo and before Macapagal Arroyo, Fidel, Estrada, and then Ramos, the credit rating of the Philippines was down to like B minus minus at one point, and then it went up to B without the plus or the minus. And during Aquino's time, I think it went up to A credit rating. So when your credit rating is increased by groups like Moody's and Standard and Poor and so on, that's a definite plus on your performance as an economy. So if you go by the aggregate numbers, the growth rate, the appreciation of the peso, when Pinoy was president, the peso, or the exchange rate, dollar, US dollar to peso exchange rate was about 45, 46. So all these things are indications that the economy, was doing much better in an aggregate sense. And I stress that because all those numbers that we're talking about, these are aggregate numbers. It doesn't tell you how much of that is actually going to the poorest people in the Philippines. So all that could mean is that the richer people, the Taipans, are getting even richer, while the overwhelming majority benefiting from that increase in the economy. Okay, well, number one, again, as I mentioned, um, you have to get a handle on your spiraling population growth. The Philippines is growing at an annual rate of 1.99 to 2% annually. Now, that happens to be the highest growth rate in all of Asia. When I left the Philippines in 1969, the population of the Philippines was 29 million. 29. Today, that population is 110 million and growing at the fastest rate in all of Asia. Now, by those numbers, according to your own population commission, the Philippine Population Commission, you will exceed 150 million by 2050, which is 34 years away. Siyempre, kailangan yan dahil, our political system, our democracy, is supposed to be gender, economic, sexual orientation, religion, equal, neutral. It's supposed to be gender neutral. I'll hire you or I'll promote you to some position because you are a woman, or that you're a man, or that you're a good-looking woman or a good-looking man. That's not supposed to come into it. It should be, whether or not you're qualified. In other words, a system based on merit. And so when you assume those things to be universal, when you assume those as the basic predicates of your system, that it should be gender neutral. Indeed, it doesn't make a difference. It shouldn't make a difference whether you're a woman or a man, whether you're transgendered or whether you are gay or lesbian or whatever. It should make a difference what your religion is. It should make a difference, what your socioeconomic level is. Kada mahirap, kada mayaman. It should make a difference. Those are basic predicates and assumptions of a democracy. So, syempre, kasama na doon yung gender. Unang-una, women are just as fit and qualified to serve in any capacity, kahit na ano. In Israel, a very small country, a lot smaller than the Philippines, but a very powerful military organization. Their women have been fighting alongside their men for as long as they have been in existence, since 1948. In Europe, women are flying aircraft and flying attack helicopters. Kung qualified yung tao in all other respects, the gender should not even be an issue. So we are actually very much ahead of the curve, when it comes to gender equality. But dapat hindi yan maging factor kahit na ano. Because women, in my view, are just as qualified. They are just as competent. They are just as deserving. Kailangan talagang masinsina natin to follow and live by it. Hindi lang yung sabi nila, we're a democracy, we are a government of laws and not of men. Bigyan natin ng kahulugan yan, hindi lang yung sa pananalita. Because rule of law, as we lawyers understand it, means totally something different from what someone who is abusive, would say, this is the rule of law. And so if I could get a court to rule in my favor, that's the rule of law, kahit na hindi tama. As we say in lawyering language, it should be res judicata, settled law. Yan ang talagang papahirain. Ang ibig sabihin yan, pantas-pantas tayo sa mata ng batas, sa tingin ng batas. Kahit na sino tayo, mayaman, mahirap, marunong, mangmang, babae, lalaki, pare-pareho tayo. Yan ang rule of law. Kung talagang papairali natin yan at talagang yan ang umiiral, maganda. Siyempre, maganda yan. Pero alam naman natin dito, sa atin, yung ating sinasabi ko minsan, hindi naman yun ang nangyayari talaga. Di ba? Alam naman natin na yung may mga katungkulan, may kayamanan, nakakalusot. Hindi sila napaparusahan ng tama. Yung mga mahihirap na hindi kayang mag-hire ng abogado o kaya hindi alam yung kanilang mga rights, karapatan, dyan sa bilangguan. There's quite a distance from our meeting the true meaning and ideal of the principle of the rule of law. Malayo ba tayo doon? Pero as an ideal, siyempre, maganda yan. You can't quarrel with that. Dahil, it suggests that we're all equal under the law. Yan nga, ang kwan equal under the law. If I were, since I'm a professor, if I were to give it a grade, it probably would like between a C and a B minus. There are a lot of cases we could point to na yung governance na yun medyo tabingi. Hindi pantas. Kailangan pantas. At saka kailangan talaga yung sinusunod yung batas. In a lot of cases, hindi batas yung sinusunod Mga corrupt talaga siguro, nabibigyan, napapakiusapan. Di ba? Ganyan ang ating kwan dito One of our big problems in this country, wala tayong civic-mindedness. Wala tayong malasakit sa iba. O kaya sa buong lipunan. Ang iniisip lang natin yung sarili natin. So, kung makakalusot tayo, di palakpakan tayo. Kung talagang seryoso tayo sa ating sinasabi na ang dapat pairalin dito ay yung rule of law. Equality before the law. Yung mga ganon. Kasi may responsibilities yan we have responsibilities as citizens. The government has responsibilities to us. So we must be, dapat equal yan. Na kung talagang ang gobyerno ay pinapairal yung batas, susunod tayo. Kahit na agrabyado tayo, lalong-lalo na kung talagang may kasalanan tayo. That's all part of the socialization, yung learning process. Kung socialize na tayo talaga, ang kailangan mabago yung ating socialization, yung ating attitude, yung ating values, ang ibang baguhin. Dapat ibang baguhin. Habang hindi natin nababago yun, hindi tayo talaga asenso.
The past few years saw improvements in governance. From 2010 to 2012, the percentile ranking of the Philippines in 5 out of the 6 dimensions of the worldwide governance indicators showed marked improvements in the control of corruption, political stability, and regulatory quality, as well as slight improvements in rule of law and government effectiveness. There have also been substantial improvements in the Philippine ranking in the Ease of Doing Business Survey Index and Global Competitiveness Index, particularly in terms of perceptions on enforcing contracts, efficiency of the judicial system or legal framework in settling commercial disputes, and the effectiveness of existing anti-monopoly policy. Despite these significant progress in governance, sustaining the gains remains a challenge for these to have lasting impact on the people's welfare.